Entering the ring now will be our first heat of out-of-school showmen. And we'd like to thank and welcome to the arena our judge for the next 2 days, Kevin Mock from Stephenville, Texas. Thank you, sir, for being with us.
here and work with your kiddos, work with the livestock over the next couple days. And in our first heat here, and we're going to pull 3 of these individuals out, and just to give you the decision here is kind of head control, where you're at and the speed and your walk and how you move around the ring, and then how still those animals get in position once we get those things set. So we'll select those 3 kids, and then we'll bring the next heat in.
We'll get you those 3 that are coming back here in just a moment. We'll get ready now for heat number 2 of Out of School Showman. Coming back for the Out of School Showman will be Shelby Carr from the Alliance FFA, Elena Cutlers from the Central FFA, and it will be Kylie Luby from the Seward FFA. Your blue ribbon winners out of school heat 1 include Colton Burnt from Riverside FFA, Claire Gangwish from the Kearney FFA, Clara Johnson from the Palmyra FFA, Madison Krameyer from the Shelton FFA, and Addie Crockett. We do not have an FFA chapter listed for Addie, but those are your blue ribbon winners out of Heat 1 for the out of school.
We'll get into our second heat of out-of-school showmen here, and some real high-quality showmen. Let's talk about a few of them in particular. Young lady here in second, I'd like to see that goat just walk a little better. You know, when we come in the ring both times, we'll give you an opportunity to go. He wants to fight you. When you get on the brace, maybe just a little more neck back, spine up, just a little bit. Young lady here in the middle, you know, a little bit of equal, kind of head control. Actually really, really good there on the walk. When you get that goat on the brace, wants to get up in her spine, kind of fix that with where you set the head and neck control on that one as well. Young lady here in three does a real nice job. Just does get that thing presented all the time. Young man here in the end of the row gets that doe presented. Really good on the three-quarter view. You know, right now is wanting her head to come down. Young lady in the front there, I didn't talk about there briefly. Just does a real solid job every angle we've asked her to work. So we're going to pull three of these out again for the next heat.
Coming back for the final drive for our out-of-school showman, Natalie Peppernick from the Ord FFA, Carrie Saney from the Norfolk FFA, and Jacob Schultz from the Syracuse Dunbar Avico FFA.
Really stout, really powerful kind of effort, just not quite sound enough. So they're
In the ring now will be your selection of your out-of-school showman. Your other results out of class number 2, blue ribbon winners. Sarah Mitchell from the O'Neill FFA, Ashley Saney from the Norfolk FFA, and Tavri Veras from the Thayer Central FFA.
over here in this out-of-state showmanship side and the goat side. I think we've got a nice group of kids here to make our final heat. And let's talk about them a little bit. And starting down here on the end, young lady does a nice job of getting this one set up. A few times wants to walk around, dance around on you some. Maybe when we're on the walk, just not quite the arrogance or presence with head control. Young man here wants to get a little behind that doe on the brace. A couple times you didn't show me her chest view as the exhibitors that preceded you did. Wanted to get her top a little high when she's on the brace. Young lady here with the paint doe does a really nice job. I mean, it's real close between you and a couple others. She wants to fight you real bad, and get out of breath there. Right now, I'd like to see her head just a little further back. She kind of looks around on you there. Probably the best on the side profile of you is here with this young lady, in my opinion. Unfortunately, getting there is a little bit more challenging. Wants to be a little sidewinder. I don't have a preference, I guess, showing with a chain or a halter or a lead. I think whichever one you want to do is fine. I do have a little pet peeve. If you're going to show with a halter or a lead, they've still got to be straight in their muzzle on the move. They can't move around like a fish on the end of a fishing line. Young lady here in two with the big doe, man, just does a really solid job. Time to time, maybe that doe wants to get out in her hock and does a good job. Pretty solid doe all the way across the board. And then the young lady up front with the weather, probably, in my opinion, the best on the move of any of them, just how she knows the speed of that animal needs to be. A few times when we've got that thing set up, wants to be top down and offside front legs, wanted to be out almost every time we've set them up. But I think there's one of them that probably did it the most solid for me, in my opinion, on how I like them to go. Transitions were smooth. Awareness of the ring was really good, and the animal stayed still. We'll go ahead and select.
Congratulations to Kylie Webby from the Seward FFA coming back for the final drive. We'll have a single class of senior showmen, please.
We're going to rework these 5 or 6 I've got over here on the far side of the ring. Kiddos, if you're over here, here's some criticism, okay? Just some things that I couldn't live with. It's a very, very deep set. Come down to either head control, on the move, getting things set fast enough, or just intensity and squareness on the brace, okay? We're going to rework these over here. Good job to you all. Give those a congratulations and a round of applause. Talk about these 4, and I'll talk to the couple of kids here that we kind of worked out of this top heat. Young lady here that's circling right here, I'd encourage you just to slow down and calm down just a little bit, okay? The more you kind of jerk on that thing, the more he's going to wiggle around on you. If you're going to show with a halter, you got to be real careful and work at home that you got enough head control so they doesn't have a chance to do that. These over here, man, did an awesome job, including her. Goat's getting worked up a little bit. Young lady here with the red one here on my far right. Man, I'll be honest, you hit the ring. I said, this is the one. We're gonna get to build the class around. As we progressed through the class, you're wanting to let that thing get a lackadaisical a little bit in his top line. Kind of looks to me like right now, and then when I come in for handle, he's kind of just standing there. I think your cool physique is the best thing you got going for you. You do an awesome job on the walk, but also got to make sure that there's a fine line there on just intense enough. two exhibitors right here. Man, when they get those things set, it's game time and it's lights up. One of them does a little better job on the walk and is a little faster getting their animal set. Really hadn't given me a bad look in the whole class. That exhibitor's going to be first. Be this young lady right here, young man with this black-headed weather will be second.
Congratulations. To represent the senior class is going to be Ashley Robinson from the Wallace FFA. We'll get you the rest of the results here in just a moment, as we'll be getting ready to bring in our junior class. Here's your results now of your senior showmanship. Blue ribbon winners include Aiden Boniface from the Blue Hill FFA, London Costanza from the Cozad FFA, Spencer Gisbera from the Wilcox Hildreth FFA, Jamison Meyer from the Wayne FFA, Justine Pope from the Shelton FFA, Samantha Schmidt from the Fairbury FFA, McKenna Schaefer from the West Holt FFA. Purple ribbon winners and Luvia Linhart from, do not have a FFA chapter listed for her, our apologies. Baylor Barons from the McCool Junction FFA. Other purple ribbons, Cami Held from the Lee FFA, Michaela Menke from the Stewart FFA. Second purple will go to Carter Wander from the Syracuse Dunbar Avoca FFA, and first purple goes to Ashley Robertson from the Wallace FFA.
Good class of juniors, and kind of like we talked in some of those other heats, you know, the deciding factors are going to be on the walk, on head control, and just presence and cadence, and the speed and what level you need, you know, that your animal needs to go, and then once we get them on the side profile, whether that be brace or on the chain, whichever you prefer, because honestly, it doesn't matter to me, especially when we're showing does and wethers together, that you know exactly, you know, where all 4 feet need to be set, you know, where animal's head needs to be, and that you can do that efficiently without too much extra movement or distraction. There's a couple of them that do it better for me in this class, and we'll talk about a few of them, I guess, here just to give some criticism. Young lady in the front's probably the best on the move. That animal likes to giddy up and go. She knows that. Unfortunately, we struggle a little bit on the brace. Young man here in second, like to get that thing's head back, get around just in front of that doe, give her a little more arrogance. Young lady here with this wether in third does a real nice job getting that thing set up. Sometimes want to get a spine down, like you to stay engaged and push and get a little lower point of pressure on that thing. He wants to lock his right rear hock out just about every time you've set him up. White doe does a nice job. She's a statue out here. The tan-headed doe does a nice job here. Wants to move around just a little bit, but I mean, that's being hypercritical on a class that I think the showmanship level is that. Young man here right behind there, with the shorter-haired doe, does a nice job from time to time. We've struggled about half of the time. Young man here with this wether. Brace, hey, we're game on, okay, man. That thing, you get him set up. He's a little uncomfortable, wants to holler on you, but I get that. That's part of it. On the move, I'd like to have a little more control and just a little more arrogance. Young man here with this shred doe does a nice job. It's like to be able to hold still a little more and have that doe just be still and be alert and be in the game a little more for you. We're going to go get you a first and second place. Been a real good class. Give all these kids a round of applause.
Congratulations to Kelsey Luby from the Seward FFA, who will represent the junior class for the final drive. All receiving purple ribbons in our junior class showmanship. Brooke Carey from the West Holt FFA. Chloe Cutlers from the Central FFA. Peyton Hartman from Adams Central FFA. Aiden Hayden from the Hardington Newcastle FFA. Cash Parrish from the Sutton FFA. Drew Saney from the Norfolk FFA. And Isaiah Ekstrom from the Central City FFA. In the ring now will be our sophomore showman. And an add-on in that junior class is Rachel Basquette from the Emerson Hubbard FFA.
A real nice class of sophomores here, and they've all done a good job. Give them all a round of applause for their efforts. We'll talk through them briefly. Young man here that leads us off with this black one. He does a real nice job on the move. When you get this thing set up, I'd like you to be in front of that doe. Maybe get her engaged a little more to get her top line up. Young lady here next has one that just doesn't really want to hold still for her. That's a good thing when we're on the move and we're on the brace. This thing needs to sit still for us. Young lady here next. Man, does a nice job of getting that doe set. She's wanting to wiggle on you and move. There you go. Just a few times on the move, maybe just a little more alertness, but definitely in contention in this tough class. Right behind her with the big doe, wants to drag on the move just a little bit and kind of fight her head forward a little bit. And I get that, a new environment and kind of high stress, high pressure. But in this class, it gets to be some decision-making parts and pieces. Young lady here in front of me now, again, does a nice enough job on the move. Like to get that thing set a little square, a little faster. Young man here is real solid all the time. Couple times got in beside you. Maybe you wanted to have her front feet kick back under just ever so slightly, but man, did a really nice job. Young man here with the dapple does a nice job on the move as well. Most of these do in this class. When you get him set up, right now, he's a little too stretched, top down, and wants to get his rear hock out. And then the young man here that's in the end of the line here with this big stout weather, hey, on the move, you know where this thing needs to be, does a good job with head control. There's a few times we've got on beside you and like that. He wants to overdrive on, he wants to drop his back and maybe lock his right rear hock out some. But I think this is a real tough class. A couple of them surface for me. We'll go show them to you.
Congratulations to Levi Finn from the Twin River FFA. He will be representing the sophomore class. We will have two divisions for our freshmen. Your sophomore class, here is your results. Again, all purple ribbons for this class, including Jace Johnson of Bloomfield, FFA, Carrie Brook of Westhold, FFA, Tyler Schaaf from Westhold, FFA, Cale Schmidt from Ferryberry, FFA, Julie Luby from the Seward FFA, Addison Howard from the Cozad FFA. Second purple goes to Ethan Hilgenkamp from the Arlington FFA. And your first purple again is to Levi Finn of the Twin River FFA. This is first heat of 2 for your freshman showman.
tough heat of freshmen here to pick a few from, and we'll talk some differences in style and how they move around the ring. Young lady that started the class here, come in first, is one that does a nice job on the move and seems to know where she's at in the ring and head control, and the move's good. Wants to be just a little bit cattywampus with leg control on the brace, maybe not quite just as square as you want to be. Let your neck sink into her just a little bit, but pretty solid on a real hypercritical class here. Young man here, once he gets that thing set, hey, we're in good shape, and the goat looks good on the move. Wants to pull his neck down just a hair like he's doing right now. We had him set over here on the side. He wanted to overbrace on you just a little bit, but hey, that's doing a real nice job. One that looks like he might be a knucklehead to show here in 3 is a young lady like to get a little more arrogance, just a little more up and out on that thing's front end, maybe just a little more control where we're at with the head. Young lady here does a good job there once we're set. Hey, I like that a lot, okay? Like to speed it up getting there. Maybe when we're making our circle, Doe wants to kind of sidestep on you, and then when you get set up, it takes a lot of motion. Right now, kind of how you've got her, she looks really good from the side. Front feet are crossed up on you a little bit there. Got to make sure we keep those square. Young lady here with this slick shore and weather does a nice job. Like to get a little more brace out of him so he doesn't walk around on you there. Young man here with this little Doe, biggest showman, littlest goat. Hey, he does a real nice job. It's solid all the time and gets about everything you can out of one like that. And then the young man here on the end like to get under him and get a little more fire out of the brace. We're going to pull 3 of these out to rework because I believe we have two heats of these freshmen.
Coming back for that freshman heat will be Preston Bobenmeyer from the McCook FFA. Wyatt Envelson from the Beatrice FFA. And Colby Hartman from the Adams Central FFA. This is your second heat of freshmen.
Good second heat, freshman here, and we're going to talk about these kiddos. We'll pick a couple of them here to go through the next heat and find us a freshman champion. A young lady to my far left does a nice job getting that thing set up. Once we get there, I like to get under him and get a little more drive, get his rear foot set where it needs to be just a little better. The wide-headed one here, same thing, kind of like to get your point of pressure a little lower, okay? When you want to walk that weather, you kind of drag him with his head down a little bit, and if you put your point of pressure on the brace just a little lower, would get a little more out of the rear third of that one. Hey, you like the way this thing gets set up. I mean, it is dead on once we get there on the profile. Maybe not quite as controlled on the walk, but, man, does a really nice job. Young lady here with this big weather here, second from the front, kind of wants to move around on you just a little bit. Maybe if we can get it all to happen just a little faster, be perfect. And then maybe the best one we've seen on the move as terms hits the ring and cadence and speed and head control on the move is the young lady at the front of the line. Maybe from time to time, such as right now, I'd like to get a little more brace out of her if you're going to choose to brace her. But I think a real good class. We'll pull a few here for the next heat. We get into this championship heat, I guess, a freshman showman, and I think all 6 of them are to be commended for their hard work. If you would, congratulate them and give them a good round of applause for what they've done, because probably the most solid and most similar 6 that we've had in the ring throughout our age groups here. The 2 individuals are going to win. I think where they beat you and where they excel the class is just control on the move. We get into these classes, we're actually evaluating the animals a little bit later. Man, that in the move, on the motion is going to be so important to me. And then when they get them on the side profile, how they look and how they have control of things. There's a couple of them. They're polar opposites on either end of the spectrum. Young lady here at the front will be your champion. Young man at the back will be second.
Congratulations to Hadley Picorni of the Wheeler Central FFA coming back for that final drive. Now it's our junior high showman. There'll be a single class of junior high.
good class of junior high kids here, and man, they are all deserving of a round of applause for their efforts, and thank them for coming in the ring and showing to us today. Let's talk about them just a little bit. Young lady here in the front with this big weather, maybe like to just get a little more out of that thing. He wants to fight you a little bit on the move and jump around some, but man, does a nice job. Hey, this one in second. It's game on when this doe gets in motion. This young man knows it. Gets her set up square, a handle and ring awareness. When asked to look at the front end of that thing, he knows what to do. Young man here in second gets a lot out of this thing from a side profile. Maybe encourage you just to get just a little more in front of him, just to keep everything squared up, and maybe he won't dance on you quite as much. Do a nice job on the move also. Young lady here, we get a little more out of him on the brace. I love your intensity, love your attitude in the ring, and I can tell you want to be here. Young lady right here does an awesome job on the ring and on the side profile and the brace. One of the best, maybe just a little more up and out with his head, and we get on the move, just like to get a little more out of that thing. Young lady right here, if you're going to choose to brace her, just make sure you get low enough that you get enough pressure down low that she gets your top up there. Young man here with this little bit lighter complected doe, man, on the walk. Do an awesome job, dude. I mean, awesome job. When you get on the side, again, if you're going to choose to brace your doe, make sure that you get low in front of her and that you get some more pressure in her and get a little more out of her. Chain showing's okay with me if that's what you want to do. Young man here, awesome on the brace. Like to get a little more intensity, a little more head control on the move. Two kiddos here at the end. So kind of the same thing on the walk. They want to sidestep on you, not quite as broke maybe. When we get on the brace, we're not getting quite as much out of them. There's one, I think, that wins this particular class fairly handily, and one that follows him up real close. Let's give all these kids a round of applause. I'll get you a champion.
Okay, we're going to get them lined up as they enter back in. Real quick for the junior high, congratulations to Benjamin Brusquet, coming from Emerson Hubbard FFA to represent the junior high. So here are your running in for the championship supreme out of school. Kylie Webb from the Seward FFA. Seniors is Ashley Robertson from the Wallace FFA. Junior is Kelsey Luby from the Seward FFA. Sophomore will be Levi Finn from Twin River FFA. Freshman is Hadley Picorni from Wheeler Central FFA, and your junior high, again, is Benjamin Brusquet from the Emerson Hubbard FFA.
man, this gets tough. And if somebody wants to step on in the ring, grab this microphone, make the decision between these six, I'll give it to you because there's only going to be one winner. I think all six of them are very deserving. They do a great job. Go ahead and reward them and show them your appreciation for their hard work because these kiddos absolutely – they got them shown to the highest level and the highest ability, and they're pretty fault-free, all of them. There's one or two of them that probably showed me more good looks and a few less bad looks. There's one of them I think's just the most extreme showman out here, and his animal's kind of over the day or over the showmanship competition anyway. But man, this has been close and it's been good. Kids all did a real good job. I'm going to walk through them one more time, and then we'll get you a champion.
That was your junior high. Congratulations, representing the junior high, Benjamin Bousquet from the Emerson Hubbard FFA. Well, stick around, folks, because we have got breeding goats coming up next. We'll be starting with the commercial breeding does here momentarily. We're going to get underway here just momentarily as we start the breeding goat show for today. Your first class coming in will be your commercial breeding does kid class. They are born I'm just trying to do a breakdown for you. The weights of them are 53 to 68 pounds. And it looks like January 23rd to March 19th of this year will be the breakdown of birth dates for that first grouping. Again, 53 to 68 pounds. They'll be entering the ring momentarily. I say they are excited and ready to enter with maybe some smiles on their face before they come. Thank you.
real good class here. Let's talk these 6, and I'll tell you where I'm thinking about them, how I like them, and we'll go from there. 3 of these, I guess, are going to pull back out for the next heat, so we're not necessarily placing them. We'll just talk the stock. Young man here in first at the lead in the pack, red-haired goat, red-headed kid. I think we got a nice package here. That thing is solid in her build. She's got a lot of outward turn to her body cavity, shoulder, neck attachment's great, pin set's great. She's probably the least far advanced in the maturity of the class. I don't hold that against her. I think fundamentally that's a really, really nice doe. She's probably not the stoutest featured one we've got, but man, there's not really a hole in that one. Probably the most problematic of our top 6 here is a young lady's paint. She's got all the bone and shag and hair in the world. She's really dimensional there in the body cavity. My problem comes on both ends of her skeleton. She wants to turn her front feet. She wants to be a little buckled at her knee. She's a little lower set in her neck. Her pin set and hock doesn't work quite like I'd like it to. She is full of muscle and bone and hair. Really, really functional kind of doe here. The young man's got right in front of me. A little flatter sided, maybe a little lower in her pin set, little plainer there across the plane of her stifle, but I think one that's fundamentally really good. She's awesome on the move. Good looking heavy muscle one here. Good looking big up and out one on her corners here. Doe right here is awesome in her front end. She's round bodied and like to relax her in her knee, relax her in her shoulder. We're going to pull 3 of these out and we'll sort the next class.
Now this group weighs from 70 to 82 pounds, born from January 6th of 24 to March 15th of 24. Here's results coming out of our first class of commercial breeding doe kids. Coming back for the final grouping and picking will be Cash Parrish from the Sutton FFA, Ashley Saney from the Norfolk FFA, and Taya Hamilton from Nebraska Ag Academy. Your blue ribbon winners include Hayden from the Hardington Newcastle FFA, Kaylee Davison from the Hyannis FFA, Brooklyn Dennis from Syracuse Dunbar Avoca FFA, Aiden Heaton from Hardington Newcastle FFA, Jace Johnson from Bloomfield FFA, and Jamison Meyer from the Wayne FFA. Purple ribbon winners will include Cash Parrish from the Sutton FFA, Baylor Barons from McCool Junction FFA, Preston Bobenmeyer from the McCook FFA, Ashley Saney from the Norfolk FFA, Brooke Carey from Westhold FFA, Taya Hamilton from the Nebraska Ag Academy, and Hadley Picorni from the Wheeler Central FFA. Those are results out of Class 1 commercial goat breeding doe kids.
talk these 5, and then we'll pull us 3 out to come back for the final heat in this class. I think we got one here in the first at the start of the lineup here that's big bone. She's stout. She's conventional in her body, and she's really sound. She's not quite as elite maybe looking as a few of them. She wants to be a little looser there at the base of her neck and a little plainer there about her throat and facial feature, but one just from a function and stoutness standpoint, really like her. The doe here in the second place hole at the moment, it's not a placing, but the one here in front of me has an awesome body shape. She's really tucked up neat in a big, robust, round chest floor. She's good in her neck and head carriage. She's really level about her hip when she braces up on the move. She wants to get just up on her back pasture just a little bit, wants to roll her hawk a little bit, but I think one that's really nice in condition. Big, stout, awesome looking one right there. Here we got one that's just a little flatter. Wish when you get on the 3/4 view of this one, she had a little more outward turn to her body wall, had a little more dimension and rib shape there throughout, and we got a really muscular, nice kind of weather-oriented doe here. We're going to pull 3 of these out to come back in the next heat.
Coming back for the final round here for these commercial breeding doe kids out of classes 1 and 2. Out of class 2 will be Cash Parrish from the Sutton FFA, Corbin Seabrand from the Pierce FFA, along with Olivia Linhart from the York FFA. Entering the ring now will be class 3. They weigh from 83 up to 91 pounds. From December 6th of 23 up to February 15th of 24 are those birth dates for class number 3. Here's results coming out of class number 2. Your blue ribbon winners will include Jamison Meyer from the Wayne FFA, Shelby Carr from the Alliance FFA, Arabella Rossmeyer from the Shelton FFA, Amelia Heller from the Wisner Pilger FFA, Mackenzie Pitzmeyer from the Diller Odell FFA, and Nolan Hassenkamp from the West Point FFA. Purple ribbon winners will include Rachel Bousquet from the Emerson Hubbard FFA, Addie Crockett from the Bruning Davenport FFA, Cash Parrish from the Sutton FFA, Nolan Hassenkamp from the West Point FFA, Carrie Saney from the Norfolk FFA, Corbin Seabrand from the Pierce FFA, Benjamin Bousquet from the Emerson Hubbard FFA, and Olivia Linhart from the York FFA.
maybe the closest top five we're going to talk of one of these heats so far. And I think they're all high quality. The kiddos that already left the ring that we talked to, these out here, show them your appreciation, give them a round of applause. We'll tell you what we think about these right here. Young man at my furthest to my right here has a big, elegant, kind of shallow-bodied, wild-headed one. I question her substance when you get right around in front of her. She's the narrowest in her chest plate of anything we've got in the class. She's the smallest in her forearm. Wants to get a little rounder in her hip and hind leg posture, but one that I think does some things really nice. Side profile, center body shape, and just the elite look there. She's got a big groove in her rack. Probably the most amount of substance and bone, and probably the bendiest legged, the most flexible, and I say that in a good way, comes in this one. Maybe not quite as elite looking there through her front 1/3. Doesn't want to cooperate with the young lady quite as good. You set those in motion, though, she might be the most functional. The most extreme one comes here in the center. Heavy muscled, wild looking. Love that one's head, throat, skin, loin. Awesome fit job on that thing. She's a little dead-headed on the move. I wish a young man, when he comes back in a minute, can get a little more out of her. But that thing is awesome looking. If she can giddy up and go, that one can be highly competitive. Real wild looking thing right here. She's probably the lightest in her body condition of anything out here. She is awesome looking. She's good built. She's good headed. She's good necked. She's good hip. Just not quite as much substance underneath that hair maybe as some of the other ones, but that thing does paint a pretty picture, and she's built right. I think one right here that's just really, really fundamental to look at. A little plainer on the move, wants to duck her pin set a little bit, get right in behind her. She's probably the shallowest and plainest there in her twist and outer turn to her stifle. Nice class. We'll pick 3 of these to come back here in just a second.
After this next class, we'll be bringing them all back in to see who is going to win the commercial breeding doe kid division. Class number 4, as it gets ready to enter the ring, will weigh from 92 up to 120 pounds. And it looks like birth dates are November 3rd of 23 up to March 10th of 24. Here's the results coming out of Class 3. Your blue ribbon winners will include Natalie Papernick from the Ord FFA, Skylar Hansen from the Seward FFA, J.C. Johnson from the Bloomfield FFA, Hadley Picorni from the Wheeler Central FFA. Purple ribbon winners are Caitlin Rizak from Central FFA also coming back. Allison Kemp from the Wallace FFA. Corbin Seabrandt from the Pierce FFA. Carter Wander from the Syracuse Dunbar Avoca FFA. Samantha Schmidt from the Fairbury FFA. Colby Hartman from the Adams Central FFA. Cash Parrish from the Sutton FFA. Maya Carey will be coming back from the West Holt FFA. Wyatt Envelson from the Beatrice FFA also coming back. And then other purple ribbon winners will include Peyton Hartman from the Adams Central FFA and Rachel Bousquet from the Emerson Hubbard FFA.
Well, toughest class of the day, and I'm the guy with the mic, so I'm going to do it my way, okay? We're going to talk about all of these. We're going to pull a few of them out to come back for the next heat. Young lady here up front with the red caped ones, super athletic, real balanced up, maybe not quite as much real steel punch, like to pick her up in her pin set comparatively just a little bit. Young lady here next comes out with one that's big centered, really robust through her cage, has some feature and foot size, maybe not quite the foot job or the fit job, wants to get a little straighter there in the rear hock. Awesome looking, three-dimensional, big muscle one here, wants to rock forward in her knee just a little bit. Doe right here, from time to time, I figure out where she's at from a balance perspective. Her underline's cut in her pretty hard. She is chock full of muscle and bone, has all the feature and appeal in the world. Great big cage, great big top one here. She's just a little shorter coupled on in the end, has a monster loin and awesome body cavity, really elite female there in this wide-headed one. Young man here has one that's functional. She's dimensional. She's balanced up. She's a little drier in her center body. I kind of question where she's at there, right at the heel of her loin. Maybe adverse effect right here in this young man's doe, the yellow caped one. She is absolutely massive in her body. She's a little heavier conditioned, and we got one that's perhaps the most balanced up, complete, proportional one, if you will, at the end of the line. She doesn't have quite as much of anything as some of the other ones, but she's really a nice doe. I'm going to go through them one more time. We'll pull a few of them out.
All right, here's the results of class number 4. Blue ribbon winners include Drew Saney from the Norfolk FFA, Hudson Schmidt from the Alma FFA, Kelsey Luby from the Seward FFA, Benjamin Bousquet from the Emerson Hubbard FFA, Keely Davis from Hyannis FFA, and Taylor Schaaf from the West Holt FFA. Purple ribbon winners include Levi Finn from Twin River, Benjamin Bousquet also coming back. Also coming back will be Taya Hamilton from the Nebraska Ag Academy and Shelby Carr from the Alliance FFA. Those are all back in the ring right now, including Cammie Held from the Lee FFA. Other purple ribbon winners will include McKenna Schaaf from the West Holt FFA, Colton Burnt from the Riverside FFA, Baylor Behrens from the McCool Junction FFA, and Jacob Schultz from the Syracuse Dunbar Avico FFA.
We're going to rework these 5 in the middle of the ring, but I think the kids on the rail here deserving of a round of applause, and my thoughts for getting this far through 4 heats. Young man right here has one that's awesome in her cage. She's big up high. She's really, really level out of her hip when he gets her on the move. When he gets her on the brace. On the move, she's a little plainer in her head and neck. Carriage drops in her base of her chest some. She's a little smaller in her rear foot. We talked about this red doe out of our first class. I think time and maturity is probably in her favor. She's definitely the least advanced in both of those stages of her life. Love her body cavity, love her hip shape, love her fundamentals. Big body runner here that gets too round off either end of her skeleton when we set her on the move. Wants to keep her hind leg up under her too much. Love the center of this one. Got to stretch her and make her a little more elite and attractive active on both ends of her skeleton. One right here has the biggest pieces perhaps in the class. Her shoulder blade rocks too far forward. She's not athletic enough out of her rear leg. One that's polar opposite of that one. She's super athletic, super stout, like to just make her a little more elite there in her front one-third of her body, give her some more shape and muscle. I absolutely love the profile, the proportions, the general build, the neck and head carriage in this spot backed one. She's not as far along. She's not as robust. She doesn't have as much turn there to the upper part of her body cavity. Get right in behind her underneath that hair. There's not quite so much of it. The one right here on the cut line is probably the young lady in third. A little harsher in her underline, runs downhill, wants to be a little splayed there in her shoulder and knee, wants to roll out of her hip, and we set him in motion. She tracks too narrow comparatively to having that much heat up high. Man, this is an awesome set of kids, awesome set of livestock that get released. We'll work these 5. Man, these are really, really good, and the blood's pumping, the competition level's high, and I think they're deserving of a round of applause and everybody's appreciation and thanks, because these are 5 really elite does. They've got some parts and pieces that separate them, and I'll tell you what, it's going through my mind. I think the most elite one starts the class. She's the most fundamental. She's the most proportional. I think she's the most dimensional from any angle you want to get on her. I prefer her hind legs set and posture. I prefer where her chest plate, shoulder, neck, and head attachment lays in her. She's awesome in her skull shape. She's awesome in her center body. She's relaxed in her spine. I like the way she bends and buckles out of her rear leg on the move, and she handles as good as any of them. I think a really nice one. Probably the biggest pieces comes in here in second. Young man, she's a little dog-headed when we get her on the move. I'll be honest with you, if this thing would get her head up and Cadillac her on the ring, man, I don't know, because it's real, real close. I love this one's advantage in terms of surface circumference and foot and bone. She's radical in her body shape. She's a little forward there in her shoulder blade. She's a little straighter in her hock. When we get those things on the move, she's just got to get you up and go a little better for me. Of our top 3, I think the one that's probably the plainest at the base of her chest floor, she's probably the least descript there about her pin set, and probably the plainest across the plane of her stifle comes in 3. She might have the advantage of second place for sure in terms of center cage and spread. You get on the 3/4 of this one, the turn at her last rib, how open she is at her last rib's awesome. She's unrivaled probably in terms of handle. I like her head. She's a little plainer at the base of her chest. She's the plainest hipped one I think we have of our top 5. Love this one right here just from a balance and blend standpoint. Like to make her a little more descript there in the center part of her leg. Give her a little more depth of twist. Give her just a little more throughout, and I'm going to say some of that's probably maturity. And I think the least athletic one comes in 5. She might be the heaviest muscled. She rolls the most out of her hip. She's definitely the straightest in her shoulder, and she buckles too far forward in her knee for me to get her up any farther in the class. Man, these are real good. Kids did a nice job.
And congratulations representing your commercial breeding doe kids to go to that final drive on the commercials. Well, the grand goes to Taya Hamilton of the Nebraska Ag Academy, and reserve is to Corbin Seabrand from the Pierce FFA. Moving on now will be our commercial breeding does yearling class.
talk about you. Go back so I can talk about you. Nice trio here on the top of this class we're going to talk about, and I think the one that wins this doe class does so very handily. That she's robust and she's good looking and she's three-dimensional. She's unrivaled in terms of hip shape and the set and bend to her back leg. She's three-dimensional from every side. Get in front of her. She's the widest and cleanest. She does all that, and she's still the highest performing, biggest capacity, biggest caged, level as top line, and I think that's a very, very nice class winner. Probably a little more just raw muscle shape comes here in second, and one that's still good looking, still awesome in her body shape. Got to strengthen her in her bone work, make her more flexible, particularly out of her hock. She just doesn't giddy up and go quite as good as that class winner. And then I think one here in third is one that's just a little plainer about her shoulder, head and neck, and ear set. Wants to roll ever so slightly there out of her hip. Not quite as stout there as far as foot size at the ground, but really big bodied, really proportional. Got some feature, got some muscle. Real, real nice doe to be 3.
One more class left in our commercial division before we pick our top 3 overall of the commercials. Here's the results of your yearlings. Purple ribbon winners: Samantha Schmidt from the Fairbury FFA, Hadley Picorni from the Wheeler Central FFA, Aiden Hayden from the Hardington Newcastle FFA. Second purple and your reserve for the yearlings goes to Chloe Cutlers from the Central FFA, and first purple and your yearling grand goes to Kaylee Davis from the Hyannis FFA.
Nice class of older does here. Got a duo here in this class. Young man with the red doe is going to start, and one that I think has the advantage in terms starts right at the base of her skull there, right between her eyes. She's more stout there. She's wider there. She carries back into a bigger, bolder chest cavity, a bigger, bolder rib cavity. She's wider in her chest floor. She's bigger up high. The doe here in second's one that's balanced as well from the side, just not as much feature, not as much bone. Get right in behind her. She's a little flatter throughout.
Here's your results of your does. Your grand and purple 1 will go to Kale Schmidt from the Fairbury FFA. Your reserve for the does and purple 2 is to Josephine Kelly of the Hay Springs FFA. All right, it's time to make our overall commercial breeding doe selection here of the Nebraska State Fair for our FFAers. Entering the ring now, representing our kid division, Taya Hamilton from the Nebraska Ag Academy. Your yearling grand was exhibited by Kaylee Davis of the Hyannis FFA, and your grand doe was exhibited by Cale Schmidt from the Fairbury FFA. Your reserves, Corbin C. Brent from the Pierce FFA, will represent the reserve for the kids. Reserve for the yearlings is Chloe Cutlers from the Central FFA, and your reserve for the does will go to Josephine Kelly from the Hay Springs FFA.
Commercial Dose Show's been fun, and the quality's been really, really deep. And we get these 8 contemporaries out here in contention, and hey, they're all real, real good. Give these kids a thank you for bringing them to the ring and a round of applause for their work they did. They brought us some nice does. Started with 4 classes of those kids that we worked through and worked them down in heats and worked down to this trio. And hey, they're high quality. We just got done talking about them. And I'm proud to stand behind them. I'm really convicted in the way we got them sorted here. I think those 3 are really, really good. The big doe that leads our middleweight division here, our first age division, hey, that thing is good. She's big-hipped. She's powerful. She's dimensional. We followed up with these other ones. It's really, really close. I think the closest decision becomes between which one will be second or which one will be third and which one's not going to get a chance to come back for the drive. I like these 3 little ones that are coming back tonight.
And congratulations, your commercial grant will go to Taya Hamilton from the Nebraska Ag Academy. Your commercial reserve is to Corbin Seabrand from the Pierce FFA. And third will go to Kemi Held of the Lee FFA. We're now going to move into our registered breeding does. This will be your kid class. Is there only one?
Registered breeding doe yearlings born between January and September of 2023. Again, this is your second call for registered breeding doe yearlings. This will be your first call for registered breeding does born before January.
Birth dates on these will be starting on December 13th of 23 all the way through April 19th of 24.
Nice class of pedigree does here, and I think we start with one that's pretty easy to find when you set them in motion and just see where she plants at the surface and how she uses the mechanics in the bottom side of her skeleton. She does that. She comes up into the most robust and most dimensional body cavity too. Where I'm going to pick on her, she's not quite as neat, not quite as elegant there about her head, ear, neck, and just kind of base of her chest. She's a little wastier there just at the base of her chest. She's probably a little wastier there in the lower third of her body cavity all the way throughout. I think she excels in terms of hind leg flex, where she's at in her blade and her knee. Her hip is huge and monstrous. Get in behind her. She's a truck, has awesome teat structure as well. Young ladies here, though, here in second. That's probably the prettiest profile. And when I love her neck, I love her head. She's cleaner at the base of her chest. She's probably a little tucked up, a little neater there. She wants to get a little tapered into her pin set, wants to roll her hip and hawk when we set her on the move. She's not quite as open there in her upper part of her body cavity. One that is really open here comes in 3. She's three-dimensional through her body cavity. Her bone and feet work doesn't match the mass that she has up high. She's probably the most refined and fragile at the surface of our top 5, but I think one that deserves a third-place hold just from where she's at in terms of presence, of neatness, of body cavity, and dimension. Hey, this one's really, really stout, this dapple one that's in 4th. Stout-headed, stout-featured, big hair and big-footed, hits the surface really hard. Just get into this one. There's not quite as much grow. There's not quite as much doability. Wants to get a little flatter and plainer there when you get right in behind her. Maybe a little more weather-oriented one here comes in 5. She's got a folded ear. She wants to run downhill just a little bit. She's not quite as good there at her shoulder function there, how she uses her knee and stuff. Nice doe, nice class.
Wonderful cheering squad. Thank you very much. Here's the results of the kid class. We'll get you the full breakdown in just a moment, but your grand will come from Kylie Luby from Seward FFA, and reserve will go to Elena Cutlers from the Central FFA. Entering the ring now will be our yearlings. Here's your blue ribbon winners coming out of our class number 69, registered breeding doe boar kids. Blue ribbon winners include Kelsey Luby of the Seward FFA, Isaiah Ekstrom from the Central City FFA, Deraviris from the Thayer Central FFA. Isaiah Ekstrom from the Central City FFA. 2 blue ribbons to Kelsey Luby of the Seward FFA. And a blue ribbon to Addison Howarder from the Cozad FFA. Purple ribbon winners will include Julie Luby of the Seward FFA, Madison Kremeyer from the Shelton FFA. Third purple will go to Cole Luby of the Seward FFA. Second purple exhibited by Elena Cutlers of the Central FFA. And your first purple in that last class. And your division winner is Kylie Luby of the Seward FFA.
Nice class of yearling pedigree does here. And we start with one I think that does so pretty handily for me. She's the best in her body shape. She's the best at the base of her chest. She's the best in her head and neck carriage. And then she does all that also with the best hip and hind leg in the class. She is really, really powerful from every angle. You want to get on top of her. You want to study her from the three-quarter view, set her in motion. She's sound. She's powered up. Hey, the levelest one, maybe with the neatest look from some angles here, is comes in second. Unfortunately, she gets a little splayed and straight there in her shoulder. She stands on the outside of her hoof wall on her right rear leg and doesn't go out of her right hock good enough. The doe here in third is one that probably matches our class winner in terms of feature and substance. I think she's too over-conditioned, and you get right in front of her for as much body and capacity she's got. She's substantially narrower chested than the two right above her. I think the one that comes here in four is one that does a lot of things right. She's a little plainer about her head and ear set. She wants to get a little in at her hock and a little down in her rear pasture. And I think the one that comes in fifth, for me, she's the flattest and least dimensional doe in the class. She's really nice from the side, though. Balances up, moves well, good spine. Nice doe to be fifth in a real tough class.
We're bringing in our does right now. There'll be 2 in this class. December 28th of 22 and March 17th of 21. Here's the results of your yearling class. Purple ribbon winners include Cole Luby from the Seward FFA, Elena Cutlers from the Central FFA, Julie Luby from the Seward FFA, Madison Kremeyer from the Shelton FFA. Your division grand goes to Chloe Cutlers of the Central FFA, and reserve is to Kylie Luby of the Seward FFA.
big does here are stout and powerful. I think our class winner probably has an advantage just in terms of feminine look from the side. She proportions a little better. She's a little better there right out the backside of her shoulder blade and neck and head carriage is all a little more trim. Honestly, I think the doe that comes here in second is a little heavier conditioned. She's a little wastier there in her lower third and breastplate. She is a big stout, real level. Got an awesome hip and hind leg in her, though. Nice class here.
Congratulations, your division winner of the does will go to Kylie Luby of the Seward FFA. Reserve is to Elena Cutlers of the Central FFA. Making the selection of your grand and reserve of your registered breeding does. For the kids coming in is Kylie Luby from the Seward FFA. Reserve will be Helena Cutlers from the Central FFA. For the yearlings represented, your grand is to Chloe Cutlers from Central FFA. Your reserve is Kylie Luby from the Seward FFA. And in the does, your grand is Kylie Luby from the Seward FFA and reserve Elena Cutlers from the Central FFA.
This has been a fun division to sort through, and the quality's been very, very good. And these does are stout and dimensional and feminine. All of them have capacity, and I think they're acceptable in a lot of areas. Let's talk some differences in them. I think our class of kids here, the first class here, we got a white-headed one that started, and she did so just from a capacity and flex standpoint. Maybe one of the squarest hip ones that we have out here in the drive. You know, we talked about her in class. She runs downhill into her spine and blade just a little bit. She's a little wastier there in the front 1/3 of her body. You like to just raise her up in her head and neck and ear set some, but she's got a lot of features. She's got a lot of capacity. She's really, really sound, has an awesome hip and hind leg. We get her in motion. Yep. She can sit right there and I'll talk her. The paint doe here that was second in that kid division is one that's awesome looking from the side. Probably the best neck and head and chest plate and lower cage in one. If you want to talk about one being feminine and trendy, that one's very, very nice. She's good in the center part of her body. We talked about her in class. One that wanted to duck her pins a little bit, didn't want to flex and go out of her hip and hind leg quite like this class winner, but I think one that's awesome looking from the sides, definitely in contention. The third place in that particular division is one that we talked to her in class, and she's big-bodied. She is really dimensional. She's really wide. She was a little more fragile there at the surface and not quite as big there in her foot and leg size, not quite as stout there in her forearm either, but one that was really feminine, heavy muscled, and big capacity. Boy, we got a big stout horse here that comes in the second class, and that one's stout from right between her eyes all the way back to the base of her tail. She's robust and she's open. She has the advantage probably both in chest width and chest cleanliness on our front row here. She's really good in her head set, comes back into a big powerful hip and a deep leg and a deep twist, has the right kind of set, I think, in my opinion, the way her hip shapes and the way her hock rolls into her and the way she's able to reach and go out of her rear structure. I think that's a really, really nice one. The second place doe in that class is one we talked jet level. I mean, you could land a small plane on this one's big back, and she's extremely level out of her hip. When we set those things in motion is when we had the problem with her. She was a little splayed in her shoulder. She wants to stand on her outer hoof wall, on her back rear leg, and consequently doesn't want to flex and go out of that hock quite like she needs to. We talked to doe that was third, and hey, young man, I'm digging your wardrobe. I wear flip-flops in my office every day, and I don't care what anybody says about it. They're the coolest thing to wear. But that doe there that's third in this particular class, she's stout-featured. She's big and burly. We talked to her maybe a little heavier conditioned than we'd prefer comparatively in that class, although she was probably the biggest capacity and heaviest conditioned of that top trio. She was the narrowest at the base of her chest of that, and that's what got her beat there. And then we talked about these two big does here. I think we started with one that was really, really nice. She's probably not the stoutest featured one out here. She's a little protrusion there at the base of her chest and her breastbone, but one that has a big rib cage in her. She's really dimensional, maybe not quite as expressive there at her pin set, not quite as powered up when you get them on the three-quarter view. The doe that was second to the doe that was second to her was one that was big and stout and had the huge hip and is really, really level. She's a little heavier condition, and I'm going to say that, you know, her show days are probably coming to an end just in terms of youthfulness and appeal, but I think she's going to go and be a really nice doe for that family. So I think a really nice set of does out here. I'll go get you a 1, 2, 3.
Congratulations, your registered grand will go to Chloe Cutlers of the Central FFA. Reserve is to Kylie Luby of the Seward FFA, and third to Elena Cutlers of the Central FFA. We should have one division left, correct, Kelly? Oh, you don't have an AOB? Okay. Then we'll bring them in now for our Supreme selection. Representing our commercials, your grand was exhibited by Taya Hamilton of the Nebraska Ag Academy. Your reserve was Corbin Seabrant of the Pierce FFA, and third went to Cammie Held of the Lee FFA. In the registered division, your grand was to Chloe Cutlers of the Central FFA, reserved to Kylie Luby of the Seward FFA, and third to Elena Cutlers of the Central FFA.
Well, this doe show has been really, really good. Give all these kids a thanks and appreciation, a round of applause for their hard work, as well as those that did make it out to our final drive, because the quality all evening's been exceptional. The showmanship show was fun to do, and even though I prefer to sort the stock than I do the kids, I'm glad we got to work with them, and I try to make it a point to talk to each and every one of them. Let's discuss these does here, because there's some obvious differences to my left and to my right, and we're going to talk through them and see which one we're going to land on here in just a second. Let's start with our commercials here. Hey, I thought this doe won that division pretty handily. She suits me just from a proportion standpoint, from athleticism standpoint, from a feature standpoint, very, very well. You get off the three-quarter view of that thing, she is very wide. I think she's moderate plus in her length of spine, which is where I prefer them. And then she's plus on length, on her length of hip and her length of neck. And I think so that's what makes her unique. She's got a huge front foot and arm. She's still short-bladed. She's got an awesome head and neck under. You set her in motion. She's got a bendy back leg, and she plants very comfortably off the surface. You study her right here. You get right over the top of them. She's definitely the most flexible there in the center part of her spine, but not to the point that she dips and ducks in it. I think that's a very, very nice doe. The one that come reserve in that particular division was one that rivaled her probably from an extreme pieces standpoint. She's really dynamically shallow there in her body cavity, and she's short-bladed, and she has got great, big, huge feet and legs. From a functional standpoint, for me, she was a little straighter in her shoulder, wants to carry her head a little lower. When we set her into motion, she's a little shorter out of her hip as well, wants to get just a little harsher there in her lines and her body cavity when we study her. But I mean, that one has got some big pieces. That was splitting hairs on a pair of them. We talked to that young man there in that division. That was splitting hairs on a very, very high quality pair of livestock there that I think are hard to replicate. They're high rent, and they're very, very good. The young lady there that was third out in that division had one that was probably the biggest centered one. We talked about how good she was there at her last rib and how open she was at the top of her back there at her last rib. Just studying her compared to her contemporaries, she was a little more generic there at the base of her chest. She's a little smaller there in her front foot and forearm, and she's definitely the shortest and plainest hipped of that trio. But man, she excels there in the center part of her body. And young lady, I'm not trying to dog on your stock. I'm just telling you the differences, because that is a very, very good animal and one that gets out and motors around the ring very good. She's monster backed. Talk about these pedigreed girls here, and man, they're high quality. This one that starts, we talked about her being just stout right between her eyes, and it carried that back all the way into a big, robust hip. She probably has the most similar hip and hind leg structure of the 6 out here to the doe that won our commercial division. Just awesome flare and still awesome flex. Get on the 3/4 view of that one. That's definitely dimensional livestock that's got a big, wide chest in her. I do love her feature. She opens up well. She flexes well. That's a very, very good doe to win that division. The one we talked about there in second in that division that was reserve pedigree doe, I guess, if you will, real stout, awesome hip and hind leg, big square pin set in her, opens up in the center part of her body. We talked about her. She wants to run downhill there under a blade a little bit, wants to get a little more generic there at the base of her neck and chest and ear. And we compare her to some of these out here, she's probably not quite as expressive there across the plane of her stifle, wants to get just a little shallower twisted. And then that awesome looking paint doe was third in that division, and one that we talked about how neat she was up through her head and chest floor, and just base of her body cavity was trim and tucked up, still to be that round. We picked on her a little bit. She wanted to wedge the most there under her pin set. We set her in motion. She wanted to be the least athletic out of her hip and hind leg. But, man, that's a nice looking one to be third in that division. Hey, these are really, really good guys. Give these kids a round of applause. We'll go get you a champion.
My microphone work with me. Congratulations, your Supreme Grand exhibited by Taya Hamilton of the Nebraska Ag Academy. Reserve went to Corbin Seabrandt of the Pierce FFA, and a third overall went to Chloe Cutlers of the Central FFA. Back here at 8:30 tomorrow morning to kick it all off with the Market Goat Show. Have a great evening and enjoy the rest of your time at the fair.